tuning in to the podcast Christian Today. I am your host, Leo. Today we have 4 guests, 2 being self-admitted Christian relativists, Kristen and Jeremy, while the other 2 are Christian objectivists, Elvis and James. Welcome, guys.
Thanks for having us on the podcast today.
Firstly, allow me to explain what these gentlemen believe fundamentally. Basically, what it means to be a Christian relativist is that they believe Jesus' sacrifice and views, but they also believe that all moral systems are equally valid or invalid. They tolerate other moral systems and believe that what Jesus said is true to them, but not necessarily true to others. Secondly, what it means to be Christian objectivist is that you believe how God's truth is the truth, and although you may respect others' perspectives, you believe that only Christianity is truth. Correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen.
This is basically what we believe.
Alright, so recently the relativistic perspective has risen to popularity. My first question for discussion today is, how valid or invalid is Christian relativism, and why? Kristen, you may go first.
I think that Christian relativism is valid as we are acting as God would want. Through being a relativist, I am accepting all beliefs of all people, therefore treating them as Jesus would want them to be treated.
Yeah, I also agree. Jesus wasn't like the Pharisees, who were against the Gentiles. They were different, but instead accepted all, Jews or not. He accepted everyone's beliefs and didn't completely disagree with them. He may not have agreed with what people were doing, but he didn't go up to them and try to force them to change. He just tried to be tolerant and explain to them why their opinion or belief might have been wrong. I feel this is the approach we should take, accepting that others think and feel differently, and if called for, maybe trying to explain to them their ideas. They might learn something, and maybe you might too.
Thank you for your responses. How about a word from an objectivist side?
In our view, because God created all of us and has set moral laws for each of us, we are able to confirm through the Bible that we have a solid ground to stand on, and that it is our duty to spread the word, not just constantly tolerate others for believing what they want to believe. By that logic, having given facts alone about God and what He wants, it's almost like standing by and watching someone drown when a Christian tells someone and what they believe is fine. Since God tells those who believe to go and save others. To us, God's word is absolute truth and is above everything else. While Jesus treated us with respect and showed love towards others, He also kept in mind that God's will is ultimately above everything else and should be prioritized.
Going along with what James said, in Romans 2:15 it states that they show that the requirements of the law are written on their hearts, their consciences also bearing witness, and their thoughts, sometimes accusing them, and at other times even defending them. This means that God gave us clear moral laws that we should follow and never disobey. In Mark 16:15 it is also written, and He said to them, "Go into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature." This means that God doesn't want us to just stand by and watch as others slowly drift further and further away. But instead, we as true Christians must chase after those who are astray and bring them into God's light.
Thank you for all your responses. Now, we have each of your perspectives on moral laws. Next, let's discuss an issue such as cheating, which will require each of your different opinions on these questions.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So first, let's imagine that there are 2 kids, Sam and Ethan. Both of them are taking a test in class. The teacher left the room, so Sam asked for help from Ethan. Sam was forced into a tough spot because they are good friends. So Sam tried to help Ethan and got caught. The teacher only caught Sam giving out answers, so he punished Sam and left Ethan, who was left with no punishment whatsoever. So in this case, who is wrong?
Well, from what I believe, the kids did cheat, but they aren't necessarily wrong. Being a relativist, I believe that there are no supreme truths, and therefore nothing is wrong. Even though the teacher thought that they were wrong, Ethan and Sam both justified their actions, and therefore they were doing what they thought was right. So at the end of the day, nobody is right and nobody is wrong in their doings.
I concur. I believe what Chairman said was right because there is no right or wrong. We all have equal morals. Sam, Ethan, and the teacher is neither wrong nor right. If I was in the position of Sam, I would argue with the teacher starting with what I believe in, which is relativism. In my culture, we believe that there is no ultimate standard of good and evil, so every judgment is made as a product of society.
How about James and Elvis? How would you two look at this situation?
I've encountered many situations like this. happens all the time and can involve many different things. We believe that Sam and Ethan is to blame for this situation. Even though they both justified their actions, they still disobeyed God's law, which is do not be dishonest to others. Because of Ethan's actions, Sam was also led into temptation. The teacher should instead punish Sam and Ethan for cheating on a test.
I would agree with Elvis. Since we don't believe in just standing around and watching others have different perspectives, we would have just said that the two kids were wrong. The Bible says not to cheat, so it is our job to correct the wrong when we see it. We would have just explained to them that cheating is wrong and that they shouldn't do it the next time.
Thanks for all the responses, guys. This discussion is progressing well. One question I would like to ask the relativist side is, how are you able to have Christianity and relativism coexist, considering that one requires you to live out and demonstrate what it's like to believe in, while the other simply claims that there is no right or wrong? How can you claim truth when you also claim that there isn't any?
I think that people can believe what they believe on the inside, know what is right and wrong to them, and still tolerate what others believe. Believing that Jesus existed and died for us can mean that only we believe it, and that is true to us, not always others.
I see. Thanks for all the responses, guys. This discussion is progressing well. One question I would like to ask the relativist side is, how are you able to have Christianity and relativism coexist, considering that one requires you to live out and demonstrate what it's like to believe in, while the other simply claims that there is no right and wrong? How can you claim truth when you also claim that there isn't any?
I think that people can believe what they believe on the inside, know what is right and wrong to them, and still tolerate what others believe. Believing that Jesus exists and died for us can mean that only we believe it, and that is true to us, not always others.
I see. How about you guys? Do you think that Jeremy's reply validates how Christian relativism makes sense?
Firstly, I think that relativism doesn't make sense since claiming that there are no truths contradicts itself. As we mentioned before in previous podcasts, all religion and ideas have a truth claim and value. So, how would you know that there are no truths or absolutes if the very claim itself is a truth? Secondly, as I mentioned before, God tells his followers to go out and preach the word. A true Christian is to go out and tell others about the good news.
Thank you very much for your reply, James. Any comments from the relativist side?
I guess you're right. Maybe we really can't claim that we are Christians if we don't do what Christians are supposed to do. Absolute tolerance contradicts what God wants us to do, since we are indeed supposed to spread His word.
Alright. Moving on to the next question. Was Jesus a relativist?
Absolutely. As we mentioned before, Jesus respected and tolerated all other beliefs, showing how he maintained his belief but also recognized the validity of other beliefs. In Acts 10 verse 28, it says that, and he said to them, "You yourselves know how unlawful it is for a Jew to associate with or to visit anyone of other nation. But God has shown me that I should not call any person common or unclean." If we look at the objective side, the Jewish leaders, they were intolerant, which made it difficult for them to accept and show God's love. But Jesus' relativistic viewpoint enables him to show love and share the word to God to them.
I see your point, Jeremy, but I have to disagree with that. While Jesus was a person who showed tolerance, he did not accept the other viewpoints and objections. In John 14:6, he states, "I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." This is clear evidence that Jesus was not a relativist, as he had a clear set of universal truth and morals that came from God.
I agree with James. I think that people often confuse Jesus' tolerance towards others' beliefs as a sign of being a relativist. What Jesus wants us to do is to agree to disagree, meaning that while we as Christians should sometimes show tolerance, but we do not see their beliefs as equal to Christianity. God is above all else, and only his words are true, not what others believe. Jesus has an objective set of moral laws from God, and therefore, he is not a relativist.
Well, I guess we're running out of time, but thank you, Elvis, James, Kristen, and Jeremy. I hope through this podcast that all of us can understand more about the differences between relativism and objectivism.
Thanks for having us here.
Tune in to our podcast next week. Until then, goodbye.
Bye.